Some stories do not have an ending. They simply stop. They leave behind a void, a question mark hanging in the cold, thin air. The Kinross incident is one such story. It begins with a routine alert, and it ends with a silence that has stretched across more than 70 years. The year was 1953. The world was holding its breath. Air raid drills, duck and cover. The skies were no longer just for travel. They were the next battlefield, a high frontier patrolled by a new kind of soldier. Our story unfolds at Kinross Air Force Base, a remote outpost in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Life at Kinross was defined by the cold and the constant state of readiness. The men at the center were First Lieutenant Felix Moncler Jr., Second Lieutenant Robert Wilson. They were a team entrusted with a powerful, sophisticated machine, the F-89 Scorpion. On that November night, Moncler and Wilson climbed into their cockpit, surrounded by the glow of dials and gauges, ready to push their machine into the black sky to confront an unknown intruder. The call came from the Air Defense Command radar station at Sault Ste. Marie. It was moving at approximately 500 miles per hour over a restricted area above the Sioux Locks. Its presence was unauthorized, its origin and intent a complete mystery. The order was given to scramble an interceptor. Their F-89 Scorpion's afterburners cutting twin paths of fire through the frigid night air. Lieutenant Wilson worked to get a lock on the target with his onboard radar, while the ground controller guided them from below. The radar operator on the ground watched the two blips of light on his screen. One was the F-89, the other was the mystery object. "I have him in my sights," Moncler eventually radioed back, his voice steady. The jet was closing in, climbing through 8,000 feet, pushing further out over the vast black expanse of Lake Superior. The two electronic signatures on the radar scope converged, drawing nearer until they were almost touching. Then the unthinkable happened. The single merged blip on the radar screen did not separate. The ground controller waited for the F-89's icon to reappear, for Moncler to radio in his report. But there was only silence. A massive search and rescue operation launched. American forces mobilized. Canadian forces mobilized. They scoured the vast icy waters. They searched the rugged, snow-covered shorelines. They looked for an oil slick, a floating seat cushion, a piece of twisted metal. For days they searched. They found nothing, absolutely nothing. Only the radar tape, two dots becoming one, then none. Questions mounted. Weeks after the disappearance, with the search yielding no results, public speculation growing, the United States Air Force had to provide an answer. The official report, when it was finally released, was concise and clinical. It concluded that Lieutenant Moncler had likely become disoriented while flying on instruments in the dark, a condition known as vertigo. This explanation, however, was riddled with inconsistencies. The ground radar operator was adamant. He had tracked two separate and distinct objects. He had watched two blips merge into one. The merging suggested a physical proximity that the official report completely ignored. The story was officially closed, but for the family of Moncler, the family of Wilson, and for many investigators, it was anything but. The conclusion felt rushed, an attempt to quell rumors and move on from a baffling and embarrassing incident. The official explanation created more questions than it answered. When official explanations fail to satisfy, human nature dictates that we look for alternatives. The most prominent theory, the F-89 had not intercepted a Canadian airliner, but something else entirely, an unidentified flying object, a UFO. Proponents point directly to the radar evidence. The unknown object's ability to absorb or merge with the F-89, then both blips vanish, does not match known aircraft capabilities. In this narrative, Lieutenant Moncler did not crash. He intercepted an extraterrestrial craft. Was it captured? Pulled in by a tractor beam? A terrestrial alternative? Moncler and Wilson intercepted a top-secret American experimental aircraft, or even a Soviet experimental aircraft. In that case, disappearance could be an accident during the encounter, or a deliberate elimination of witnesses. Then, in 2006, the Great Lakes Dive Company claimed to find the F-89 wreck at the bottom of Lake Superior alongside a piece of the unknown object. They released sonar images that seemed convincing, but the company and its evidence were soon exposed as an elaborate hoax. The hoax offered false hope but reignited public interest, and the truth, in the lake or the sky, remains elusive. It is a fantastic notion, but for some, the only fit. The Cold War saw rapid leaps and secret black projects. Maybe they encountered a craft so advanced it had to be protected. Perhaps one day a piece of wreckage will surface, a lost record will be declassified, or a new technology will allow us to finally see what lies in the depths of Lake Superior. More than 70 years have passed since that cold November night. The Kinross Air Force Base has been decommissioned. The F-89 Scorpion is a museum piece. It persists not because of what we know, but because of what we do not. It is a perfect mystery, a story without a final chapter, a puzzle where the most important pieces are missing. The incident has become a fixture in the folklore of the Great Lakes region, a classic case study for aviation historians and ufologists. What was the unidentified object that appeared on the radar screens over Lake Superior? Was it a ghost image, a simple misidentification, or something tangible? And most critically, what happened at the precise moment of intercept when two radar blips became one? Ultimately, we are left with the human element, two young men, Felix Monclar, Robert Wilson, who answered the call of duty and flew into the night, never to return. Their names are etched on memorials, but their final moments are lost to history, owned only by the sky and the deep, cold water. Until that day comes, the Kinross incident will remain what it has always been, a chilling ghost story from the Cold War, a stark and profound mystery that continues to haunt the edges of our known world.